Thank you for attending this presentation. My name is Yann Blevec, and I'm the head of integration and architecture at Smartwave. And today I'll present you a case study we made internally at Smartwave about integrating cloud application. And actually, we've been using WSO2 products to do this. It won't be a too technical presentation. You'll have other in the other session. This is more like an enterprise architecture approach with integration. What I really want to highlight during this presentation is two elements. The first one is about how we can, with WSO2 products, keep simple things simple. And this is not so obvious when you're dealing with integration platforms. Things tend to be very complex, even if you have very basic needs. And with WSO2 products, we were able to maintain simplicity over the development we made. And the other point is about what we, you'll see the other point just later on. Don't worry. So the agenda for today's presentation is a little bit of background about Smartwave. We have just some contextual information about who we are and why there was this kind of project. And then I will share with you the vision we had for our information system. And we have two main characteristics. The first one being a best-of-breed approach. This means that we are always looking for the best application to fulfill our needs. And we are using a lot of applications that are very smallly functionally focused and not a large application. And the other one is that we have been using cloud-based application for a long time now. We don't want to maintain this application internally, so we pushed everything on the cloud. Of course, when you're dealing with such an environment, an important thing is to be able to integrate all the pieces together. And this is where we've been using WSO2 products to integrate these components. And finally, the last point is about the next steps. And I'll discuss a little bit with you with what we have in mind for the future. And actually, we'll integrate our ESB solution with Amazon SQS and provide additional services to our end users. As you can see, Smartwave is a Swiss-based company. We were created in 2000, and we are located in Geneva. We are mostly working on the French part of Switzerland, so the western part of Switzerland. We are about 50 people working over there, and the people are working on the following business line of services. First one is about security. So we are working on identity management. Another one is collaboration with a strong focus on document management system. Another one is about web and mobile for user experience. The fourth one is about business application, and we have a strong partnership with Oracle and e-business suites and tools like this. And the last one is the one I'm responsible for, its integration. And this is the one which were involved in this project. So we've got 7 certified consultants, and what is interesting is that we have a portfolio of solutions as integration platforms. So we've got WSO2, this is why we're here today, but we also work with Oracle, SAP, with SAP PI and Oracle Service Bus. We also work with API management tools like the one from Axway, previously Volvo, and we also have integration platforms that are specialized to a specific domain. For instance, we have MERS that is being used for the healthcare industry. So we have been implementing integration projects for more than 6 years now, and we have some customer references. Final word about Smartwave is about our IT. Our IT is very small. We don't have many troubles managing this IT. So we have no more than 15 business applications and almost 50 virtual machines, both on-premise or in the cloud. So for maintaining our infrastructure, we don't have anyone dedicated to this. We estimate that we have around 0.3 full-time equivalent to this operation. And even the solution owners who are entitled to improve the solution over time are full-time consultants. So we don't have any IT people, actually. In this context, we have been trying to build an information system based on some expectations. And this is the more obvious one. These expectations are quite stable over time, so they don't really change. And our information system is responding to these expectations. The first one is that we're a small company, so we don't want to spend millions of dollars on IT budget. And we try to keep the budget as low as possible. The other one is about lowering the IT operation. And currently, we don't have anyone. And as long as possible, we really want no one to be involved in operating our information technology. And this is really a wish that we have. Because we are an IT consulting company, we think that we have skilled people, skilled end user, and it's much more convenient for us when they have some free time to work on an information system. Another point which is very important is to support the growth of the company. And here, what I want to say that I joined the company in 2010. We were about 30 people. Now we are about 50 people, so we are almost double the size of the company. And an important factor for us, it shouldn't cost us twice the same amount of money to run twice the people. And in addition, it should be very easy to onboard new employees in our infrastructure. The last point is about adapting to business need. Indeed, it's quite difficult for an IT consulting company because we have to face many different customer projects, and we must adapt ourselves to the customer. So we can't always use our tools. We must respond to their tools. So this is why basically we go to the cloud, and our journey began in 2007. And what was interesting over there, cloud was more an option for us. It helped us to solve technical pain points. And Google is a good example because we have to manage internally some Exchange application server that was difficult for us, and we had trouble stabilizing it, and we have decided to go for Google mailing system at that time. We did about the same for Atlassian. We were managing Confluence and Jira instance internally, and we have decided to go for on-demand installation. And things get a little bit speed up after 2011. So we have started to work with Amazon Web Services, and cloud has started to become a cloud-first approach. So every time we have a new requirement, we are looking for a custom solution or a predefined solution on the web. And now we have a portfolio of solutions that we need to maintain over time. What is interesting is that we are currently solving business expectation. It's not about being more convenient from an IT perspective, but to address very specific needs. And we have made two things. The first one is about Amazon and using infrastructure as a service, and the other one is leveraging Google ecosystems. So we are organized around 5 core domains. The first one being still on-premise, and being the finance part of it. We also have accounting and some strategic information about our consultants. But the other one are pushed on the cloud. So we do have a Google ecosystem, mainly for office purpose. We are working with Atlassian for application lifecycle management and collaboration. We have been using a lot Amazon Web Services, especially for providing environment very easily. And we are also using Beanstalk for version control. If we take a closer look at the Google ecosystems, you'll see that we have deployed Insightly, which is a CRM solution. We have deployed DMS with AODocs, and we have also created our own tools to support our business. If we take a look at the Amazon part, we have deployed applications that were previously on-premise, and we have pushed them on the cloud. So we've got a time tracking solution and a business intelligence solution. Actually, after doing this, the key issue is that we're lacking some efficiency because we have to duplicate operation between solutions, which is quite obvious. Either from an end user perspective, so people have to copy paste information from a solution to another. And also for administrative purpose, because we have to create user in every system. We also suffer from a lack of accuracy here, because when you copy paste manual information, the more human are involved, the less consistent are your data. And the last one is also quite important, because the more application you're using and the more fragmented your usage will be. So if you want to have standard application and standard way of doing things, it's really difficult when you've got multiple applications. You must automate things if you want your business process to run smoothly from one application to another. So this is why we needed some integration to solve these issues. And here, WSO2 come into the scene. Actually, as I told you, we are using several ESB solutions, so we had all the knowledge required to evaluate a solution, and we decided to go for WSO2 ESB. We've been using the ESB, also the BAM application, just for standard reports on service consumption. we have deployed everything on the cloud, on Amazon Web Services, just at the end of last year. And mainly, we have developed application-to-application integration flow. So we are basically accomplishing synchronous communication between applications. So this is very basic integration requirements currently. We have around 10 integration flows that connects our application. And the first use case we have been using is to support our project methodology. As I told you, it was important for us to ensure that we have common best practices and that these practices are supported by our application. So we have a 4-step which is inspired by Prince2. The first one being start a project. And when you start a project, first of all, you'll receive a request from a customer, identify a response team, qualify the opportunity, and then make a proposal. And at the very beginning of the project, you still have to provision very quickly some IT resources. So this is where the ESB was used first. We have defined an admin UI in Google App Engine. And based on this admin UI, we are sending a project request to the ESB. So we're just sending some information about the customer, the type of project we are working on, fixed price or things like this, RFP. Then we also add the participant. It could be people from Smartwave, it could be external consulting company, it could even be the end customer. And we also specify the project owner. And based on this, we will provision this resource to our system. So we will create a Jira project, we will create a Confluence space, we will create a version control, we will create time-sheeting solution. We have also added support for a project library in our document management system. So the ESB is responsible for creating all these resources. If we just take the example of Confluence to illustrate this, this is quite basic. It is just some API management solution. So we have to invoke a series of API first to create a space, then to pre-populate some content based on a reference template. So when we have a project type, we can give a template that is associated to this project type. And then we have to set up the permission according to the people that will be working on the project. What is quite interesting here, obviously we are adding technical constraints because this is a service bus, this is made for this, and Confluence API is so based and requires some logging operation that is not very convenient. So we have exposed everything in REST. It's much more convenient to use. Then we have encapsulated some orchestration into a single services because to make all these requests, you have to have some sequence of organizing this. And last but not least, we're extending functionally Confluence. Here, the template functionality is not out of the box. So we are using recursive calls to the API to know the page structure and to create a template based on this. So this is really functional enhancements using the ESB. Just a little example to have some technical information for those who are interested. So our sequence is very basic. We have to log in to create a group, to invoke a create space operation, add the group to the space, copy the template, and just send a response back. If you want to do this, it's very simple. So the first example is to create a space. So we'll send a SOAP request to the endpoint. Here we are using the call mediator to do this, and everything is organized into the registry. So we're using the governance registry for this. The other point, which is much more interesting, is that we are enhancing, as I told you, the function. And here, the call to this sequence will be iterate over all the pages. So we can do, what I want to say with this, is that we can do some complex logic using the ESB. We don't necessarily need to have a process server or a BPM solution. You can already encapsulate a lot of things using the ESB. Then we have also been working on platform industrialization. And as I told you, we don't have anyone to support this. So we wanted to be as simple as possible to provision a new environment or a new resource. And we've been using Puppet for this to build the environment. So if for whatever reason our ESB instance failed, for your information, this ESB instance is not duplicated. We just have one instance. We just want to lower the cost, so we don't have high availability. It's very easy for us to provision a new resource. So we have been developing some custom modules in Puppet to support the deployment of the ESB. And the configuration is stored in the Git repository, and we are using here to inject all the information we need to create our ESB instance. This is just an example of the profile we created for the bus. The other point is about deployment, and we are using all the time Developer Studio to create our configuration, and based on this, we can have Mavenized projects. So it's very convenient for us to build Carbon Archive using Maven and this kind of tool. So a typical project for us is a Maven parent project that will include an ESB configuration project, a governance project, and a Carbon application project. We do substitute variables using configuration files, and this is a very convenient way for us to work. Finally, I will just give you some information about the next step we are having. First of all, we have to create more integration flows. We just have around 10 integration flows currently, and we want to add more and more integration flow between our application. And we are working on another example, which is quite simple also. We want to retrieve all the information stored in Confluence and send it to our document management system. So we are using tags, and we are using the Confluence API to retrieve all the documents that are marked as deliverables and then send them to our document management system. So this is another example. But we are working on other things, much more interesting. Actually, as I told you, we are just using synchronous communication currently. So if we want to support a synchronous scenario, we need a message broker in between. And we have chosen not to use the one from WSO2. We will rely on Amazon SQS, which is very convenient and quite low cost. And we will use a custom mediator that we've been developing to connect to this SQS message persistence store. And the use case we have here is that we are using Puppet to provision EC2 instances. And every time an instance is provisioned into EC2, we do have startup and shutdown scripts that are sending information about the instance to Confluence. So we have developed a service on WSO2 to send this information to Confluence. And of course, here, if the bus is not available, we can receive the request. So we want to go through the Amazon SQS to retrieve the request. Another point is to provide self-service. And this is a little bit more complex because we want to empower end user to create, for example, project requests. And we think it's quite interesting because we don't want to have only administrators that can do this. And for doing this, what we need is to develop a custom application for self-service. And this is quite easy for us because we have a business line that is dedicated to web and mobile, so they can use whatever frameworks they like, Sencha, for instance, and build a mobile, a multi-channel modern user experience on this framework. So this is not the pain point. The other issue are more about tracking the identity of the person. And currently, we are working, all the people from Smartwave are stored in Google. So this is a good start. But when it comes to our customer or external society, they are not stored in Google. So we have to set up an identity management solution that will be able to connect all the identity we need. And currently, we are most likely working with ForgeRock. So we will use OpenIDM and OpenAM solution to create this identity store. And the last point is about deploying workflow capability. When we submit a request, we want it to be approved, we have to have some workflow. And here, we will most likely deploy a BPMS component in the cloud, like the one from BonitaSoft. As you can see here, we are still going for a best-of-breed approach. Because we have been using WSO2 for the middleware, doesn't mean that we'll be use everything from WSO2. We are just trying to find the best option for every scenario that we have. So, as a conclusion, as I showed you, we have adopted a clear cloud strategy, and we think it's the best approach for us and for an IT consulting company for our size, not to host anything internally. But it really creates a key factor of success with integration. If you don't have integration in this environment, it's not viable. So integration is a key factor of success. We have chosen to rely on WSO2 solution. First of all, we really believe that price and functional coverage, there is a very good trade-off with WSO2 product. And WSO2 product is not just a matter of price, it can really be a strategic investment for deploying some ESB solution like this one. And of course, we have been using it. The result is very simple. It's lightweight. We can provision a resource and ESB very easily, and it's extensible. We had to extend it for some customer case, and we will extend it also for integrating with Amazon SQS. When we need something, we just build it. And this is very different from commercial approach. When you don't have the function you need, you are stuck, and you just have to ask the software vendor. And the last point I want to highlight here is, I think this is quite an interesting case. As I told you, this example is very basic. The integration behind it is a matter of days for building an integration flow, so it's not very complex. But it's really interesting in regard to market trends. We are currently going into a world where a single application cannot satisfy all needs. And this is basically what we did. We are using a bunch of applications to cover our needs. So integration will be more and more used to connect this application. And because people are putting this application on the cloud, we are still needed integration, not as it was used to be. And SOA is a very good example of it. You put an ESB solution, and you've got some complex integration flow between your application. Now we are going for something much more simple with API management tools. So this is the trends we are going currently, I guess, and this is the trends that are provided by the analyst. And actually, we are making a good use of our internal expertise here, because we are leveraging our web and mobile environment, business line of service. We're also leveraging our integration line of service, and so this case, I think, is quite relevant, and it's quite aligned to the trend. Thank you for your time, and if you do have any question, feel free to ask. If you want to send me on anything, you can join me on email or Twitter.
Hi. You were saying that you rely on configuration files to help you deploy between different environments the configuration in your bus. Do you use the standard capabilities, or have you elaborated on the standard capabilities of the bus to provide those different endpoints or addresses for consuming services between different environments?
This is mainly a matter of Maven substitution. So we are not relying on WSO2 or registry. Because actually we've been working, for example, with file input, and we cannot use a governance registry to handle all the difference between one environment to another. So rather than just doing something for some case and some other thing for the other case, we just use Maven for everything.
Do we have any more questions?
In your presentation, you mentioned about usage of a document management system,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
What exactly is the purpose of the document management system?
So we have some kind of enterprise library, and we are using AODocs for this. And our document management system is a single repository for all the important information we have at SmartWave. So, for example, we have analyst reports, resume from our collaborators. We have all the project deliverables that are published. So all the knowledge of SmartWave is stored here. And when we have to because one of the drawbacks of using tools like Confluence is that you've got a lot of content and not all of it is relevant. So we have to make the choice between what is relevant and what is not relevant. And when it's relevant, it goes to the document management system.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else?
Nearly. Do you have any plans? You mentioned that you're using ForgeRock for the identity. Yep. Have you any plans to evaluate WSO2's offering in this space?
Actually, this is more a question about partnership and portfolio management, because our identity business line of service has a strong partnership with ForgeRock, and they have evaluated a bunch of solutions to create their portfolio. So we have a strong partnership with Oracle for IDM. We have also open source one with ForgeRock, and we rather like the one from ForgeRock rather than the one from WSO2. So thank you very much for your attention.